Hi everyone, welcome to Poetry and Talk. Poetry and Talk is a new online interviewing platform for poets to share their poetry, background, and inspiration. We're so grateful that you've checked in with us today. We have a new guest poet to introduce you to. Before we meet our guest poet, we'd like to thank all the poets that we've already had poet interviews with. We've been learning so much from you and we're so inspired, and we thank you. You've really helped us kick off Poetry and Talk in a great way, so thank you very much. We've had poets thus far from the United States, from Canada, from the UK, and from the Caribbean. We're very excited about the new poets we have lined up these next couple of months to introduce to you. So we hope you'll stay tuned with us on our Facebook page, Poetry and Talk, and look for new poet interviews being uploaded. We also just wanted to mention, before we get into our guest poet for today, that we've had a few poets expressing interest in being interviewed with us, but they've also said they felt a little bit of shyness with the video conferencing platform that we use. I have some tips and techniques that I can send to you that will help you prepare for the poet interview and help you to feel more relaxed and more confident for your poet interview. So please don't let a small thing like shyness deter you from a poet interview if you are interested. You never know that where your poetry and your poetic journey may be a great inspiration to others. And that's what Poetry and Talk is all about, inspiring, learning, and growing together. So if you are interested in a poet interview with us, you can contact us at poetryandtalk@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you with scheduling and information. We're excited because we have the next couple of months filled up with some new guest poets. We're currently focusing on scheduling with early 2021. So again, thank you for watching. I would like to welcome our guest poet for today, Jessi Hersey. Welcome, Jessi.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Can't wait to find out all about your poetry and what you're all about. Do you have a poem that you're ready to share with us and a little bit of a brief introduction?
Yes. My poem's title is Black Lives Matter. And I guess for my introduction, I started writing when I was 6 years old in PE class. That's where I wrote my first poem. And this poem was inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement. And when I did a little more background in understanding where that came from, I actually wrote an article on Medium too. This poem kind of sprung out of all of that because it's important. And especially since voting just happened yesterday, I figured might as well continue with that theme. But yeah, I'll just read it. So, Black Lives Matter. As the chatter of what truly matters is being publicized, only to be advised, to be silent when Black Lives Matter. Until then, I will speak, I will stand, I will join in the voices speaking truth. Black Lives Matter. Isn't it time to make the changes that are being voiced every day? Black Lives Matter.
Okay.
So that's my
Please share with us. We obviously know what you're sharing, what you're elaborating within your poem. Talk to us about this, why you feel so strongly about it. Give us all your viewpoints on this and how this is reflective or not reflective of some other subject matter that you write in your poetry as well, please.
Okay. Well, it has everything to do with actually my subject matter with my poetry book. I like to write about, I guess, what's happening and what's mattering in the moment, even if you don't get to see it until much later in time. This really spoke to me a lot, especially seeing so many people walking just on the news and hearing about when I went to my day job, they were talking about you could go to the walk and protest, but because of Corona, you had to let them know and then you'd have to do 15 days of quarantine. But just hearing more and more about it, and then some of my friends that are also poets that are Black, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but that are Black, we got to talking more too. And I actually wrote it before we even got to talking, but I just really wanted to voice and add to those voices and add to, I know there's other poets out there also writing about this too. And I know there's other writers, just a lot of people voicing and trying to become that voice, especially in a time period like this where we are silenced when it's an important subject. Like personally for me, my background, I grew up in special education. I have what you call, well, I don't count myself as having it now, but expressive language disorder, which is pretty much I shouldn't be able to write, speak like I am right now, or do anything I'm doing right now, actually. And to me, whenever I feel strongly about something, I don't stay silent because in the past, even, I was taught to be silent and I didn't know how to express myself either. And I was also taught that this label is you. And so that's kind of where my strong desire and what I believe strongly in, whether it's Black Lives Matter or even as Hispanic, Latino, getting their rights, more of their rights, I feel and understand that perspective more than you would think just because of my own background. Because when you're in special education, you are treated like minority, not majority. Even in school, you're treated like minority. It doesn't matter your colored skin, you're minority and you're put in with everyone else in special education. So you are treated like an idiot and you definitely get that label and kids definitely treat you that way. So it's not like rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. It's here's your label and this is what you get. And I know how it sucks. And I just can't stay silent with that. So I kind of took to heart everything that was going on. And I chose to really, I did a big background check on everything because it started, I guess, in 1987 was the exact date for the Black Lives Matter movement, which began by a group of people. Trying to remember the person that was in jail wrongfully that started that inspiration. But it's really cool to see just people standing up and building these places of hope and strength. And the more people that stand up, the more likely someone will listen. And because this group started, they're bringing a lot of other voices in too. And I think that's really awesome and deserves to have a voice on every platform possible. Mm-hmm. Do you have any questions?
Well, it sounds like in your poetry that through what you've elaborated on with your experiences, that it's kind of helping you unlabel yourself. It's kind of freeing you from some of your experiences and some of your labeling, so to speak, and it's helped you to find a voice for yourself and also for causes that you feel important about, different people in, like, you know, perceived minority situations where you can be a voice for them and a heart for them.
Yeah, you put it perfectly. And yeah, I plan on not ever going silent with my voice. It shows a lot in, like, my poetry book, if I can say Lit Soul, my journey back to faith, which that book does have God/universe in it. But I guess someone once told me that I'm a prolific writer. So even within my poetry, I guess it shows in there too. I write about anything and everything that, as you said, is important and has heart to me. I use my heart fully in everything I do. Mm-hmm. And my background is what helped me kind of express myself, because that was my first form of expressing myself, was poetry. And it kind of flew out of me when I was younger, whether I was in the car or in PE, where I first wrote my very first poem, Beauty, which is also in my poetry book. And it still flows randomly out of me. Like before this interview, I started writing one of my Medium articles because I got some inspiration. So it's just everyday life leads to inspiration for me, just living, breathing. I'm also during the day, one of my day jobs is caring for kids and adults with special needs. So they inspire me every day too. And yeah, it's fun to have the experience of being on the other side after you've been there, also helping those on the other side and knowing and seeing and believing, well, and knowing for a fact that they can be exactly where I am too, that there is no difference. It doesn't matter what label or name they've been given, whether it's Down syndrome or ADD or anything. They can overcome anything because I'm living proof of that. That's why I purposely try to talk about it too. And yeah, do you have any more questions?
Well, I think that's amazing, that you're living proof that you have overcome these things. And because of these things that you have experienced, you've offered yourself a lot of deep compassion, and then you're offering that compassion out to others as well.
Yeah.
So going into being this voice, how has this been an inspiration to others? Do you have any things that you can tell us how it's helped others to kind of broaden their perspective, to kind of open themselves to seeing all of us as equal, and as, a world where respecting and honoring others as well as ourselves?
I guess those who are closest to me, my friends, they've kind of lit the way in a sense. My family definitely has too. But my friends right now that I'm close to, they've been showing a lot of changes just from me speaking about it. Like some of my friends at my day job know of my background, like one of them currently. So I guess that's my close one there. And she kind of leans on me a little bit just to get more perspective too, to understand those that we're working with every day, because I have that perspective. I've been to speech therapists, been to the torture of learning your IEOU, which is torment to me now, but all of that, I don't know how to really describe how it's changed their lives. I just know that they do lean on me a little bit, even at my other day job too, which is retail. I have a friend there. I count her as a friend, and we kind of sarcastically go off each other, and she leans on me a lot for, I guess, rooting on, and she roots me on equally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a give relationship. Most of my relationships are, because I've learned to not just give, but allow giving in return, where I used to not. In the past, I wouldn't allow that, but now I allow that. And by that, that makes change and leads to respect and more equality just by being yourself. So that's one thing I've been doing, is just being myself, and doesn't matter where I'm at, what I'm doing, whether I'm writing and listening to myself type on my laptop or hearing myself write, because I do still use notebook and paper. My phone's my last resort, the notes on there when I write, because literally it comes to me randomly throughout the day. So whatever is near me is going to be my writing product. But yeah, just by being me, and just by anyone being themselves, is the product themselves of making the change. They don't need to do anything else but be themselves. Like, I love the person I work with at retail because she's who she is. She has no problem openly and honestly saying something, and that's what I appreciate. And same as the person at my other day job, where it's working with kids and adults with special needs. Because she's open and honest with me, it's easier to have that mutual respect and have that understanding. And sometimes we don't even need words, and it's appreciated. And yeah, we both give each other reminders on both jobs, because it's one person at each job I'm talking about right now. But that's all that matters, is that mutual respect and that understanding of, hey, so this is me. If you like it, cool. If you don't, I don't care. That's literally how I am. And that's why, to me, I'm sharing my poetry and my poetry book from when I started writing at 6 years old until now. And I only chose specific ones from my past. I didn't choose all of them. I think I chose maybe 50 poems, and 50 of them are more from 2019 and 2020, and I think a couple from 2018 and 2017. Other than that, they're all from the past, from when I was little. And some are from literally right now, like up until today.
Mhm. Jessi, I think that's so beautiful to be a voice poetically for what you're seeing as, you know, social injustice, and opening the perspective to that, and kind of widening that so we can live in a completely different world. Bring us back, if you would, Jessi, to 6 years old. That's when you started to write poetry.
Yeah, and that was pencil and paper. And that was, yeah, in PE class. I don't know how I got the pen and paper. I just remember writing it and my teacher being like, wow, you wrote that. And then my teacher sharing it with my principal. And then my principal, as I got older, eventually started sharing my poetry during the daily, I don't know what it was, but she did announcements, and she'd do my opening for my poem of whatever I wrote that month or week. And she really helped boost my confidence in writing, because I wasn't all that confident, but she'd always be the one reading it. And it was just nice, because eventually what formed from that was, I guess, a poetry thing for anyone to put their poetry in. But she always kept up reading mine, and she eventually read other people's. It was really fun just to see that change happen. And all I had to do was write a poem in PE class, in an unexpected class.
Right, right. That just came to you spontaneously in a PE class, and then you started to have some great feedback from some others in your school environment, and then one thing just kind of led to another, and you just kept getting inspirations.
Yeah, just, I know during PE that day, I was picked on a lot, because when you read the poem Beauty, if anyone decides to in the poetry book, it kind of goes over what I was feeling at that time. And I was, yeah, harshly getting made fun of. And it's funny because it was written while we were sitting down. And I don't, again, know where I had the pen and paper from, but it was there. And yeah, it was like my first step in really seeing that what I wrote mattered and that I mattered. That was really the first time I felt that way. And it was all thanks to my principal and the teacher that passed that on to my principal.
So poetry has been a huge transformation for you.
Yeah, and it has been a way for me to express myself. That was the first way I ever expressed myself. I used to actually write poetry for people in high school. Well, not high school, middle school and high school. I'd get a little angel and have a poem that went with it, and I'd put it on their desk with their name on it. I never signed it, but people eventually found out it was me. But that's what I used to do, and I'd specifically write to that person of who that person was, and the angel was just an angel of hope, so just meaning hope. And I only gave it to people that I thought really needed it. Sometimes I got hurt for doing that, but I had a couple positive experiences too of that. And now I actually have, during my retail job, someone asked me to write a poem for her, so that was a first for me.
Tell us about your book and when it's going to be out, and a little bit more in detail about that, if you would, Jessi.
Yes, definitely. My book will be out December 20th. And again, the title is Lit Soul, My Journey Back to Faith. And this story is kind of about, well, it is a story of poetry, true, all of it, kind of about my journey in losing faith in God / the universe, doesn't matter what you call it. Losing faith in myself, losing faith in humanity, and then coming back to faith. So seeing, well, trusting and believing in what I don't see. And it's an up and down journey, because I touch on suicide and mental illness in there, because I did have a friend that committed suicide, and she's the very first person that did actually ask me to write a poem, and I never did. And then I wrote it after her death, so that poem's in there. And I have a poem named Death too. I have everything from people that have touched my life My best friend's poem is in there too, called K. It's just really my journey. Like, you can really see I'm honest even in some of the writing of what I was thinking. So there's even a poem of when I thought of suicide too. And going through those thoughts. I think the name of it is Fly. I think so. And then there's other poems as you go further, because the very first portion of it is called Humanity. So that's more of the darker yet good of life. And then Awakening, that's towards the end. There's 4 portions. I have it in 4 portions. And it's only like 100 and I think 10 pages. And I have a beautiful artist who's done beautiful, beautiful paintings/drawings to 5 of my poems, and also did the cover of my poetry book. Like the important ones, I open with the poem God purposely, because you go, well, my first portion goes so dark so quick, but it not only touches on my life, but like I said, those who've touched my life, and just my own thoughts on life and my own perspective and things I went through. And there really isn't anything that's not touched upon. There's mental illness, there's Black Lives Matters, there's the pandemic, there's everything in there. I don't not touch any subjects. And
so you're very open with your subject matter, and you're kind of drawing inspiration from things that are going on in the world currently, things that you've experienced, social injustice, having a voice for others, that type of genres.
Correct. I even have a poem called Injustice, so that's perfectly said. Yeah. And the person that did the paintings, her name is Helena. I don't remember her last name, which is kind of important, but that's okay. It's in the second page after you see the photo. She is really cool because the way we did it for the poetry is I literally sent her the poem, and because I believe strongly in this, I let her do whatever she wanted, whatever came to her head to do the image. And wow, it's very touching and deep just to see all the things she did, including for my poem Beauty. She really, really puts a lot of heart and soul into the paintings that really help my poems become elevated thanks to her. So I believe strongly in working with artists. Even for my children's book, I work with an artist too, which will be out before my poetry book.
Would it be correct to say also, Jessi, that with your poetry and your writing, the different things that you write about, that you've been able to draw a lot of inner strength through your poetry to help you come to terms and help to overcome different things, and kind of to free yourself at the same time and kind of see more of a liberated world? Would that be correct?
That would be, yeah. You're right on it. Exactly. It's helped me also believe more in myself too, because when I have doubt, I tend to go to my writing, or I guess second to is I go to humans. Sometimes I go to my dogs, but writing is definitely first for me. It's like the air I breathe, so writing is a part of everyday life. And if I can't write something down right away, it just stays in my head until I can find something to write with. I don't care what it ends up being, whether it's my phone, my computer, or a pencil and paper, or a pen and paper.
Mm-hmm. That's really beautiful, Jessi. So when you get an idea or an inspiration, and if your phone or a piece of paper or computer isn't around, you still are able to remember it later on that day or the next day?
Yes, I am.
Wow.
Like, I won't be able to sleep that night if I had an idea and haven't written it down in some form or another. It can stay with me. Just like a big part of my personality is I remember things that are important to me. So those I'm close to, I can remember really important details about easily.
Mm-hmm.
And that can show up easily in my writing too, including poetry.
Mm-hmm.
But also out of respect for them, I always do the anonymously without them knowing who that was. I don't put names and stuff in anything I write, because it is my own perspective. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you said you write every day?
Every day, Correct. Even if it's like one sentence, sometimes, well, because I am a medium writer, I have to keep up weekly. I did take a 1.5 break, but I'll be coming back just like with my YouTube channel. I just write on subjects that I want to write about. Yeah, I know it's trending. I've learned some things through becoming a medium writer that it's important to check to see what's trending to write about, but I rather write about what I'm passionate about. So it's not necessarily always trending. It could be no longer trending and I write about it anyways. I tend to write about mainly like social justices or injustices or something I just recently went through that I can easily do a lesson through in my writing. Because I'm a publishing process coach and help other writers and poets, doesn't matter what they do or what genre, because I've been there, I can help them follow their dreams, whether it's actually in publishing, even though my title has publishing process coach, it's whatever they want to do. It can be screenwriting, it can be anything in writing that they choose to do, and it's individualized per person. Just through all my experiences of writing, since I've been through self-publishing, I've been through the actual publishing companies, I know how it works, and I understand how you get in magazines. I've gotten those in the past thanks to teachers. Yeah, I'm mainly just a logical helping person, but I have the title publishing process coach because no matter what path you choose, it's still a process.
Jessi, is there anything about your poetry, your poetic journey, even future potential projects, things going on with you that we haven't touched upon that you'd like to share before we have to close for today?
I just would like to share mainly my website, so www.numberoneness.love.com. That's where you can find kind of the stuff that I do. And you can also find my poetry book when it's out there too. And more information of where to follow me, like on my Medium page, which I think is just under Jessi Hersey, so JESSIHERSEY. And to watch for my book, December 20th, on Amazon will be the first place it's published at, and paperback and on the Kindle. So I guess e-reader, virtual version of it too. And eventually Audible. I don't know when that will be out, but eventually Audible. And yeah, that's really it. And I appreciate you having me on your show, and I appreciate what you do.
Thank you so much, Jessi. Thank you. We appreciate your time, learned so much from you, and I'm sure this will be an inspiration to others. And we'll look forward to staying connected with you and your book, December 20th. That's so exciting. So we wish you much success with that and success with all your projects and all your endeavors. Thank you so much, Jessi, for being with us today.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. Again, please stay connected with us on our Facebook page, Poetry and Talk, and be on the lookout for new poet interviews uploaded. Thank you again for watching. Thank you again, Jessi, and we'll see you on the next time on Poetry and Talk. Until then, be well and be blessed. Thank you, everyone.